outperformed by and again, it was a rainy day. It was a sloppy game. It wasn't, your typical Oregon Ducks just putting up like 40 or 50 on you. But nonetheless, the Badgers lost that game. What was the gist of what Brando? Oh, just kidding. Let's hear from Tim Brando.
At all. The noise is out there. And they've been banging on the doors at Camp Randall. A lot of no-shows for home games, and he's aware of it. I mean, it's something that he has mentioned more than just a couple of times this week. And with all these podcasters out there now that want to say, well, the relationships with high school coaches just isn't there anymore. How much do they really, really know? Probably not much at all.
Okay, so the podcasters, quote unquote, in reference there is our very own Brad Nortman, who is, of course, on the afternoon. Kyle Preston Nortman, you can hear him right here on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Brad, of course, is a former Badger. Brad lives in the state of Wisconsin. Brad has contacts and connections to people who are associated with this program. This is not some random kid sitting in his basement. He's a fan of the Badgers, and he's just pontificating randomly about what might be causing problems for the Badgers organization. So that is first and foremost. Gabe, your reaction to Tim Brando's criticism of the noise, quote unquote, that is out there surrounding this organization.
So it's just kind of fun because he mentions, Fickell hears it. This wasn't just Tim Brando like stumbling somehow across the clip that was posted from KBN last week. This is clearly a conversation they had in a production meeting because he mentions, clearly Luke Fickell, he's heard all this. He's well aware of it. And then decides to try to discredit it. And again, this is what Luke Fickell did with a Kalen Kaler report from ESPN that he was not letting scouts in. He denied that report, even though apparently he's lying about that. Like, everybody knows he's lying about it because coaches lie. It's what they do. He stepped up to the podium, said that report wasn't true, even though apparently everybody in the college space knows that it is true, that Wisconsin is not letting scouts into their practices. So him going to Tim Brando and complaining about this in hopes that Brando is going to talk about it on the broadcast, it's just, man, that's just embarrassing. Because guess who else this noise is coming from? Barry bleeping Alvarez. If you listen to the Barry Alvarez clips from a couple of weeks ago, Barry was talking about going out into the state, pressing flesh, meeting people within the state of Wisconsin. And I don't think Barry's making that up either. I don't think Coach Alvarez is going, I wonder if Barry's not mentioning that on his show that he does Monday nights on ESPN Madison, unless there's a reason to bring that up. So to try to discredit anybody else out there who wonders if the relationships are there with the state of Wisconsin, you're not just going after our guy, who is an alum, and also mentioned, by the way, the alums feel like they're alienated, and this only goes further proof of that point that Brad made. But then you're not just calling out Brad, you're calling out Barry Alvarez, the man who built the program that you have just so thoroughly destroyed.
Yeah, he screwed up. He screwed up when he went to the air raid offense because look, Wisconsin has homegrown, grind-it-out offensive linemen here, okay? That's what they have. Wisconsin is known for that.
Who are the best players that they've put through into the NFL? Offensive linemen from this state.
Yeah,
we've got one of them that follows us here in Mark Tauscher. We've got the Hall of Famer
Joe Thomas.
And Joe Thomas. Like, there are so many Wisconsin offensive linemen in the NFL, It's not even funny. And you decided that you didn't want to recruit him.
Well, he went to the air raid, which you recruit a different kind of offensive lineman, a more athletic, where you kind of get away from the road grader Wisconsin guys, which was stupid because you had the homegrown talent. Because you saw offensive linemen now in the state start going to Michigan, to Penn State, to other schools, and I don't know what he was thinking. You think you're going to get 5-star receiver to run an air raid offense out of Texas, California, and Florida? So that's a stupid thing. He should have, and he went back to it. He's back to it now. Like, okay, pro-style offense, they don't do it very well because they have no talent. But that was his first mistake. But Brando,
So to me, this is
we all have tentacles. We all have tentacles, right? And I hear things. that the attention to detail is a joke. The people They have what you have. They have invite-only camps where the kids have to pay to go to them, but it's talented kids. This is how my son Dylan at Michigan State went to one of these camps and was offered a scholarship after going to that camp. So I know people that go to these camps and go, the talent they have here is a joke. Who are they recruiting? It's a joke. The attention to detail isn't there. And to me, I don't know, it just feels like a money grab by Fickell because he didn't want to put the work in. And then how do you address, I mean, what does this say about Wisconsin? They fire James Franklin at Penn State. They fire Napier at Florida. They fire Kelly at LSU, right, who have done far better than Fickell has. I mean, is Wisconsin a real program?
Well, Chris McIntosh did come out last week with a letter of support of Fickell. The rumor is that he, of course, wants to keep him. There's a couple of things at play here, and I want to try to dive into them as well. There's nothing tougher than parachuting into a program, which these national broadcasters do. You know, they've got their depth chart, they've got their sheets, they've got all their information. To your point, Gabe, they have production meetings.
Which Tim Brando couldn't even get all of that information correct.
Like what?
He said a running back was out for the year, who is not out for the year for Wisconsin on the broadcast, and said that Danny O'Neill is injured. He is not injured. So Tim Brando, very good at keeping his information straight.
So you parachute in, and that's already tough enough, and then you're trying to glean as much information as possible, and you rely on those production meetings, to your point, Gabe, to get sort of the narratives, to get sort of the feel of, the vibe of the program, because you can't get that from reading a depth chart. You can't get that from looking at box scores. So that's why you have those meetings. Obviously, it came up in the meeting. Obviously, Tim Brando thought that he should carry water for the program and maybe defend Luke Fickell, which was very nice of him. But this is a classic case of trying to help and doing more harm. Because the problem is that the quote-unquote podcasters actually have their thumb on the pulse of the program. And a guy like Brad Nortman, who we have mentioned is an alum, who lives in the state, who has connections and contacts with people who are still involved in the program, he probably knows more than the national broadcaster parachuting in. And so it seemed like a fight that Brando shouldn't have taken on. There should have been a realization of, man, things are real ugly. Things are real bad right now in Madison. Things are bad at Camp Randall. Let's just stick to the X's and O's. Let's just stick to what's happening on the field. Let's not dive into. But unfortunately, when you have a lopsided affair, Gabe, and you know this because you've called games before, you get stuck. You get stuck having to fill airtime, and that's when you sort of go to the well and you go and you start digging on
but
things
he did this
that
in
maybe
the second quarter. There's still plenty of time left. Like, this was an actual competitive game still in the second.
Well, that's a very good point.
Much to the surprise of everybody that this was still a competitive game in the second quarter.
And again, thank you, Mother Nature.
When he decided to carry water for Luke Fickell.
I don't. Go ahead, Gabe.
It's disappointing that Fickell would bring this up, and obviously bothers him, and he trying to discount and these are just broadcasters. They don't know what they're talking about. When, again, the broadcasters, Brad Nortman, who played in this program, lives in the community, has connections in the high school game. Like, trying to me, that just disqualifies Luke Fickell. Like, the product on the field hasn't been good. And right now, if I'm taking all the context that's out there at the University of Wisconsin, Chris McIntosh wants Fickell to be the guy. And with that letter that you mentioned, Jen, we're going to put more money into this. Where they're getting that money is anybody's guess, but they're going to put more money into the program, and then that's going to make Luke Fickell better. To me, Luke Fickell has improved that he deserves to get that more money because he hasn't made the connections with Wisconsin high school coaches. He hasn't made the connections to the alumni. And when somebody wants to criticize him for something that he clearly has not done, that again, Barry Alvarez has also criticized him for, he wants to go to Tim Brando to try to discount it. Like, you haven't earned the right to get that more money that Wisconsin wants to put into this program. Like, it's one thing to lose on the football field. It's another to not do all the other little things that make me think you can turn the program around because you haven't put in the work. That part is painfully obvious.
McIntosh is going to go down with the ship because no one blames him for hiring him.
Nope.
Okay? Because Fickell was the hot guy at the time, and there were probably 10 schools that would hire him. Okay?
And
this
Fickell
thing
had
is,
said
how
no
are
to
you
other
going to
schools.
recruit? What recruit is going to go, hey, we're bringing Fickell back for one more year, right? What recruits are they going to go, oh, yeah, he's going to turn it around? They're going to go, I ain't going there. That guy's getting, if he ain't getting canned this year, he's getting canned the next year.
Well, I'll take it one step further, Chew. You mentioned the coaching carousel and how many positions are open there.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that Wisconsin ranks near the bottom of those options for the hot coaches out there. So you're not getting, and I know that Lane Kiffin's name has been mentioned for Florida and maybe LSU. You're not going to get a great candidate of the caliber that you had where Fickell landed during that coaching carousel. You're not getting somebody of that caliber, of that ilk this time around if you move on from Fickell, man. They are in between a rock and a